Welcome back to MetaCast, the show that, well, takes these deep dives into all the stuff you're already thinking about. I'm John, by the way, kind of your guide through this pop culture jungle we're hacking through.
And I'm Maya, here to help make sense of it all.
And today, folks, get ready, because we're going full-on Westeros. Game of Thrones movie. Could it be? Seems like it, at least according to the rumors flying around. You guys sent in a ton of articles, your own thoughts too. Everyone's buzzing about Warner Bros. Maybe possibly making this happen.
Yeah, and it's extra interesting because, well, that show's ending. Let's just say it got some people riled up.
Riled up is an understatement, I think.
Hmm.
So we're going to break it all down. What's behind this movie idea, why that finale was so controversial, and could a film actually give us, like, the Westeros ending we wanted all along?
That's a question worthy of a Stark, for sure.
You got that right. All right, first things first. The news itself is pretty straightforward. Warner Bros. Is in the early stages, and I mean early, of developing this Game of Thrones movie. No director attached yet, no cast, no script even, but the Hollywood machine, that thing's already whirring.
And yeah, it makes sense when you think about it. Game of Thrones was massive. Even with all the ending drama, studios, they're always looking to expand those big hits, right? Turning a series into a whole cinematic universe, that's basically their playbook these days.
Right, but can they really recapture the magic after that finale? For anyone who needs a little memory jog, what were the main things that had fans, ready to storm King's Landing themselves?
Well, one of the biggest complaints, for sure, was the pacing, especially with Daenerys, her going from, breaker of chains to, well, kind of a tyrant. It all felt super rushed, almost betrayed the character we'd been watching for 7 seasons, right? Started as a Khaleesi, sold off in marriage, lost her husband or baby, then she rises up with those dragons, freeing slaves.
It's like they squeezed a whole season's worth of story into, like, 2 episodes.
Exactly. And because of that speed, her final actions, they felt jarring to people. It's not that characters can't go dark, but it's got to be believable within the story. And a lot of viewers felt Daenerys' turn just didn't have that groundwork laid out properly.
Yeah, less like a natural thing, more like a shocker just for shock's sake.
Right. Then there's the White Walkers. They were this looming threat, like unstoppable ice and death,
I still have nightmares about those guys, years later.
I can only imagine. But after all that buildup, the final battle felt kind of anticlimactic to many. Years of dreading the long night, and it's over in 1 episode. With a kind of convenient solution, left some people feeling like emotionally it just didn't pay off after such a huge threat.
I get it, like you're climbing a mountain for years and then there's a helicopter waiting at the top.
Perfect analogy. And then, on top of all that, there's how some beloved characters ended up. Jon Snow, Tyrion, their fates, they just felt off to a lot of fans. Didn't seem connected to the journeys they'd been on, like their emotional investment wasn't, respected or something.
Almost like the writers forgot who these characters were by the end. Just trying to tie everything up neatly.
Yeah, a lot of people felt that way.
So after all that, how can a Game of Thrones movie even work? What makes Warner Bros. Think they can pull this off?
Well, one thing that stands out in all these articles you sent, it's the focus on the Starks.
The Starks. Always suffering, always getting the short end of the stick, right?
Exactly, and maybe that's why they're so popular. They're like the heart of Game of Thrones, and their stories, they were left kind of open at the end of the show.
True. Arya sailing off to who knows where, Sansa as Queen in the North. Definitely a lot they could do with that.
Exactly, and a movie could really dive into that. See Westeros through their eyes, follow their individual journeys.
I can see that working. Arya running into new cultures, new creatures. Sansa dealing with the politics of a newly independent North.
Yeah, it'd be a chance to explore them in a way the series, with all its scope, just couldn't.
Okay, I'm starting to get it. But besides the Starks, what else could a movie do? What other possibilities are there?
Well, one of the best things about Game of Thrones, it's the world, right? So rich, so detailed, with this huge history. We only saw bits and pieces of that history in the show. A movie could go way deeper, exploring events and characters from Westeros' past.
Ooh, you mean like a prequel? I'd be down for anything about the Targaryens in their prime.
Exactly. Or imagine a story about the Night's Watch being founded, or the Age of Heroes, when guys like Bran the Builder were around.
Now you're talking.
A movie could bring all that to life on a huge scale, expand the mythology in a way the show just didn't have time for.
This is all sounding pretty exciting, but gotta ask, how do we know this won't just be a cash grab? Fans are still wary after that finale. They'll be quick to call out anything that feels like a rehash or just plain on nostalgia.
Oh, you're right to be cautious. The potential here is huge, but so are the risks. If they want to make this work, they got to give us more than just the same old thing. The story's got to be fresh, compelling, honor the show, but also, go its own way.
So not just giving fans what they liked, but actually dealing with the stuff that hurt the show's legacy. That's a tough challenge.
Yeah, it is. They got to prove they've learned from the past, that they're serious about telling a story worthy of the Game of Thrones name.
Okay, seeing the big picture now. But let's go back to those Starks for a minute. If this movie does focus on them, which storyline are you most excited about?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Both Arya going off into the unknown and Sansa ruling the North, those are full of potential. Arya could run into whole new cultures, mythical beasts, maybe even uncover secrets about where the White Walkers came from.
Oh, I could picture it now. Epic battles, strange creatures, those landscapes.
And with Sansa, it could be about leadership, about rebuilding a kingdom, dealing with legacy and all that.
Yeah, how she balances the old ways of the North with the need for change after everything they've been through.
Exactly. Both storylines could have drama, action, emotional depth. It all depends on what kind of story the filmmakers want to tell.
All right, so we've covered the news, the potential problems, the possible storylines. But there's one question I just got to ask.
What's that?
If you were to write this Game of Thrones movie, which Stark would you pick and why?
All right, I've been thinking about it, and if I were calling the shots on this Game of Thrones movie, I'd go with Sansa.
Really? Why Sansa? Gotta admit, Arya is sailing off to those uncharted waters. That seems way more, you know, action-y.
Oh, Arya's journey's definitely got potential, but with Sansa, it's a chance to look at leadership, at rebuilding a society after years of war, all that mess.
So more than just swords and dragons.
Exactly. Think about it. She started out as this naive girl, dreaming of knights and all that. But Westeros, that place changes you. She saw the worst of it, the power, the betrayals, the whole game, and she came out a strong leader.
Yeah, she's not the girl who's swooning over Joffrey anymore, that's for sure.
Nope, not at all. And now, she's queen in the north, facing a whole new set of problems. Rebuilding her kingdom, securing those borders, navigating the whole mess of Westerosi politics. That's a lot to handle, and it could make for a really interesting story.
I see what you mean. It's a story about rebuilding, about hope in a world that's been through hell and back. Sansa's journey, there's real weight to it.
Exactly. And it lets you explore those themes. Game of Thrones always did so well,
Yeah.
Power, duty, family survival, all that.
It's not just about who's on the Iron Throne. It's about what it means to lead, to inspire, to build something better.
Exactly. And for Sansa, that road's going to be bumpy. She'll have people against her inside and outside the North, those who resent her or want to take advantage of their independence.
Oh yeah, that political intrigue, that's what made the show so good.
Right.
Before we wrap up, gotta get your take on the biggest challenge for any Game of Thrones movie.
What's that?
The ending. The show's ending. How do they convince fans, especially the ones who hated how it all wrapped up, to give Westeros another shot?
That is the million-dollar question, and honestly, there's no easy answer. The filmmakers got to show they've been listening to the criticism, that they get what went wrong, that they're serious about telling a story that honors the show but also does something new.
So it's not just about big battles and fan service.
No way. The story has got to have heart. It's got to be smart. It's got to be about the characters. They got to remind us why we loved Game of Thrones in the first place, the characters, the world, the tough choices, the surprises.
Sounds like a pretty tough job.
It is, but it's not impossible. If they can find that sweet spot between respecting the past and moving forward, they might just make something really special.
A Game of Thrones story that stands on its own, but also adds to the legacy of the show.
Exactly. That's what everyone's hoping for.
Well, we've looked at the news, the challenges, we even dreamed a little about the possibilities. But let's get back down to earth for a minute. You spent a lot of time with these articles, your research. What's the biggest thing you're taking away from all this?
I think what really stands out to me is how powerful Game of Thrones still is. Even with that ending, people still care about this world, the characters. That says a lot about the impact it had.
It's true. People are still arguing about the finale, sharing theories, imagining how it could gone differently.
And that's what makes this movie idea so fascinating, right? It's a chance to go back to a world we love, see new parts of Westeros, maybe even get a new perspective on things.
It's like a do-over for the fans and the creators.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why it's so risky, too. This movie could be amazing, add to the whole Game of Thrones legacy, but it could also mess it up if they're not careful.
It's a balancing act, that's for sure. But you know what? I have a feeling they might just pull it off.
Oh, what makes you so optimistic?
I don't know, call it a hunch.
Mm.
I think the creators, they've learned from what happened. They know fans want something special, something that respects the world they built, but also takes it in new directions.
I hope you're right, because if they can capture that magic again, the same magic that hooked people for 8 seasons, this movie could be incredible.
It could be a chance to redeem the Game of Thrones name, to show there are still stories worth telling in Westeros.
And that's something every fan would love to see.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought.
I'm all ears.
Think about the power of stories. They can take us to other worlds, introduce us to amazing characters, make us feel things we never thought we would.
They can challenge what we believe, show us new things, even inspire us to change the world.
And the story of Game of Thrones, it's not over. It's still alive in the hearts and minds of the fans, and now it's about to take a new, exciting turn.
So hold on tight, because winter is coming to theaters.
And in this time, it might just be the winter we've all been waiting for.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep diving deep.